If you're an artist trying to figure out how to record yourself creating your art so that you can post it on YouTube, then we should hang out, because I'm an artist too. I've been working on this thing for days and days, and I think I have finally created an easy setup that is reproducible, so that if you can't leave it set up, you can get the same results the next time. So if you stick with me, I'm going to take you through what I do, but if you stick with me till the end, I'll show you the measurements and how I have this thing set up so that you can do the same thing at home if you want to. Okay, let's get started, shall we? So I have a few things here that if you want to reproduce this same thing, these are the things that I think are necessary, not optional. Okay, not optional. So the first thing that I have, and I put a photograph because you can't see this with all the creative chaos behind it, but this is a canvas light system. This is a ring light, 6-inch ring light with 3 color temperatures: normal, warm, and cool. It has a clamp on it for pretty much any cell phone, and I've had it for a long time, and I thought I lost it, so I bought another one. So you can't see this, but I'm being recorded by my other canvas light stand. The second thing that I think you have to have, unless you've got bank and you know a more sophisticated setup, is some kind of a cell phone with, obviously video recording on it. So that's next. I'm using so you don't need anything fancy. I'm using my iPhone 6S, which has given up the ghost a long time ago. The battery doesn't charge, so it's permanently plugged in. The microphone doesn't work, so if I'm going to use this to record, I either need to use headphone microphones, or I actually bought my first microphone, which I'll get into another time. We'll talk about that after. The third thing that really is optional, but it has simplified this process substantially, is this awesome black glass mat from Tim Holtz. It is gridded so that it makes it fairly easy to line up in the viewfinder so that you can get a relatively square, level presentation. And I say relatively because it's going to be crooked. I have not figured out how to make these lines perfectly level to satisfy my perfectionist self. But I love this thing. I'm a gel print. I'm a mixed media artist, so I use gel printing. I bought a lefty by mistake, but I don't regret it, because I put my gel plate on the left-hand side over this white, normally used for painting area, and I've got all of this real estate to work with. Okay, so I know this is granny. I was using a single step stool, which didn't work. Then I switched over to a 2-foot step ladder, which didn't work to the point where I was in danger of falling off. I've fallen and I can't get up. You will need that step stool to see what's going on here, to be able to turn it on and off, to be able to align it. It's not optional as far as I'm concerned. So what the canvas light has is a built-in lighting system, thus the canvas light. It's a 6-inch ring light, like I said, and it goes up and down 10 different degrees of brightness. And I'm fortunate enough, you can't see this, but behind my camera there, I've got a really good-sized window, and lucky enough to have another good-sized window on the right-hand side. So I rarely use the light portion of this, because I almost always do this kind of work during the daytime. So if you have a natural light source where you can set up your recording area, you won't have to deal with yet another barrier for entry of getting this done, which is some sort of lighting system. So one of the things I want to say about what I like about this system, I think I have figured out how to keep my head out of the view, which is, rather than having my light on the side, which you can reach this far, it has an arm that bends, it reaches that far, rather than having it on the side, I have it in the back, which buys me 2 different things. It buys me extra real estate for dropping supplies, paints, gel prints. My brayer I prefer to keep on this this piece of black glass, but it allows me to not have to worry about putting my head underneath it because of the distance it is from the front. So I find that useful. Oh, I know what I forgot to mention. This little clicker is controlling the camera that's recording me right now. And I have a clicker for this one, but it's junk. So it records when it feels like it, and sometimes not even then. I have to press it 2, sometimes 3 times. So I'll link this in the description. This one so far has been very reliable. So I have this for my XR, my iPhone XR, and I bought a white one to match my white iPhone 6s so that I will know the difference between the 2 clickers. And I find it really useful to not have to stand on my stool to turn things on and off. However, having said that, because I don't trust my technology yet, I keep the stool set up right next to where I'm working. It's not in view or anything like that, so that I can make sure that I am not talking my head off to you guys and it's not on record, which hasn't happened a million times. I want to show you where this journey has taken me, which is down the Amazon rabbit hole, buying all kinds of stuff that I ultimately ended up not using, but it was an interesting experiment. So now I know why I'm not ready to ditch the light that I paid over $200 for. But I also want to show you an alternative that if you don't have $200, and a lot of people don't, you have an option to spend less and get relatively similar results. So this was my next purchase, because let me tell you why I was even shopping against my canvas light. No matter what I do, I get camera shake, and it's very distracting for people to watch. It's very distracting. So I purchased this light system, which is awesome because it's on a stand. I've been trying to find a stand for this because I was convinced that the table was causing the shake. Well, it's not the table, because I have a giant 4 foot by 3 foot map table with giant drawers that weighs 1,000 pounds, and I still get camera shake. So I was trying to solve a problem that couldn't be solved. Because this area, this clamp light scissor arm thing, is found on every similarly typed lamp that you can find. You know, any of the desk lamps, any of those things. They're almost completely identical. This one has slightly quieter springs. I don't know how much of this you can even see. Hold on a second. Here's just a piece of cardboard. I want to put this behind it because I know there's a lot of distractions in here. So let me do this. See this? Tell you what's different about this. This is a 10-inch ring light versus a 6-inch ring light, which I have found pretty nice. And everything about this lighting system is identical to this. It has the same control. Everything about it is exactly the same as this for way less money. The things I learned about this is that for my filming purposes, possibly not for someone else, but for my filming purposes, it was too tall to stand on the desk. Although I did get a really nice, much bigger viewing area, I think I would have kept it, except for it's sort of like a skyscraper in New York. You know, they move. So I've got a New York skyscraper that shook way more than my New Hampshire contraption. So it was too tall to stand on the desk, but it's too short to sit on the ground. I can't get the reach because of the way this thing bends. It hits my table. But this has a lot of flexibility, and before you go running out doing anything like this, take a look at this. I'm going to put a link in the description. This also has a friend. So it says in the description that this is a 78-inch high light. That is nonsense. Even standing at full attention, all the way up, all the way up, it's only 70 inches tall. However, if you're doing the type of recording where you, like for instance, I've decided that this is going to sit here and record my desk going forward so I can have another angle that might be a little bit more user-friendly. Maybe the people who are viewing my videos might better be able to learn something about what's happening off camera, because I'm really curious about what a lot of artists are doing off camera. Before I put this guy away, I started to say that this one has a friend. So if you go on Amazon, and that link will be with it. It's actually a link to a playlist. I'm a newbie. This is like my first art video, so I don't have any affiliate blah blah with Amazon. It's just a wish list that I've compiled of stuff that I find useful. It's the exact same thing for $30, 30-ish, I can't recall, but it has a clamp for the side of a table. I don't have anywhere that I can clamp anything. This is a solid mass of wood, so I can't clamp anything, but perhaps you can. So $200, kind of $30-ish. You decide. So what I figured out with this system, well, I'm going to jump around because I'm new and I don't have a very linear train of thought. Let me tell you about this thing. This is freaking awesome. This is a gridded glass thing, so no matter what you put on it, it can scrape or wipe off. Windex or even just a wet cloth is awesome. It has little legs, so it's lifted up slightly. It doesn't slide around, so if you're doing the kind of art where you really like something to sit still, like for instance a gel plate, it doesn't slide around, which I think is awesome. So the dimensions, which I cannot remember, so I've written them down, it's 14¼ inches high by 23 3/4 long. With my camera set up, with this set up at 26½ inches high, I get a viewing area. I've got to find out my viewing area. It's pretty good size. I'm pleased with it. Okay, I get a viewing area that is, why can I not remember this? 29½ inches wide and 17 inches high. So just to give you a visual, I can see my viewing area is 1 inch to the left of this and all the way up to this tape measure, 1 inch below the bottom edge of it and all the way up to my lighting base, just slightly beyond my lighting base. So I have a really good sized area to work, and again, I said I was mixed media, so when I'm working with a gel plate, this turns into chaos pretty quickly because I don't know where to put things. I spent a lot of time yesterday recording myself with mixed results, but I did it, recording myself, trying to figure out what I would be doing that would be a pain in the neck for people to watch, would make them bail on me. It was like all kinds of things, so I'll share some of those with you. Once you get your setup created, you are going to want to test drive it a whole bunch of different times to keep your head and your arms, and you know, if you're wearing a bathrobe like I was yesterday, people don't really need to know that. I found out through testing this thing by standing on my stool and looking through the viewfinder and putting stuff out while it was recording, that the whole area to the left-hand side of my table is good for paint because you can't see it. When I put the paint in the front here, I have to reach across, giving away my wardrobe choices, which today I'm dressed like a grown-up, but not every day. Actually, all right, not most days. Okay, apparently I'm going to jump around, but I'm going to go back to the light for a minute because I want to show you why I think you need this. So I have my cell phone set up. There's a setting under camera somewhere that says grid. The XR that I'm recording this video on says grid and level. And if you have younger eyes, you can see the tiny little line that indicates level. I can't see it. And I can barely see the grid, but one of the things I like about this thing is that it also, I can align the grid shown in my camera with the grid shown on this and get a relatively square setup. Having said that, I have spent ridiculous amount of time trying to make sure that this rectangular mat is rectangularly shaped like my viewfinder. You know what? It's not going to happen. I quit. I give up. So I do want to show you something that some of you may have They're readily available everywhere. And I started out using this, but I didn't like the color. So this is an old cutting mat when I was a quilter that I don't know is a useful cutting mat any longer, but I originally had this set up here, which I actually found easier to align because it was larger than the viewing area. So if you happen to have something like this around, you might get it for less money, although, I don't know. That was a pretty good deal because it's a lefty, but it's working perfectly for me. The righty is usually like $60. You see how I did that? Started talking about this and went on a complete tangent. Sorry, guys. Level. I set this up here when I'm standing on my stool so that I can see that this tilt is level. Because my phone is in the way, I set it up on top of my phone to get the bubble in the middle so that it's relatively level this way. I'm not sure if I could have done this without it, but that's because I'm a perfectionist, and if you're not, God bless you, because I don't know how to do that. Okay, let's take a minute. I'm going to switch setups, and I'm going to show you the top-down view of this setup and see what you think. Okay, I'm going to climb up here while you're watching on my stool. And I don't know if you can see my head. Most likely you can't. So you can't see my head. This is where we're going to set up this location of this mat so that you can get similar results. I'm going. Okay, so this is the top-down view of my work area. This is what people will see when I'm doing my recording sessions. What I like about the fact that it is very clearly defined is that I will know when I go off camera because I've got this mat that's right in view. So probably 3 or 4 days ago, I recorded myself making a piece of art, making a collage out of the gel prints that I make. And it was 2/3 off camera. It looks something like this. So all of that real estate on the top, I was unaware of because I'm new and I'm trying to figure things out. So you want to avoid that sort of thing and make it really clear to yourself where your beginning and end is so that you can spare yourself. Okay, tape measure. Okay, I want to show you, let me get that just past, okay, from there to about there. So I've got almost 30 inches wide, which means that I've got all of this real estate over here on the right-hand side that I can put things that I want to be seen. And I've got just a piece of washi tape on the side of it to indicate to me the out of frame area, which is visually useful. So in terms of visible space, let's see what we've got. Let me put that right on the end there. And I don't have my glasses on and I'm way too close to this, but I'm almost certain that's going to say something like 17 inches. So if you're going to be setting up something temporary and you need to move this out of the way to cook dinner or, I don't know, set the table, wherever you're recording, let me show you how I know where to put it back again, which is those 2 pieces of tape. I align the bottom edge and the left-hand edge. I've taped them down on the countertop, and that's where I'm going to put it. So let's see how that goes, okay? Let me put this thing back where I think it goes and see how in frame it actually is. There, and there, and... Okay, so pretty good. The next thing I want to do is show you what I mean about camera shake, and so you can decide whether or not that is a good idea for you or not. Like I mentioned, that this is a lefty mat. If you were a righty, this would be on the right-hand side. It's got a hidden somewhere in my studio, kind of like a silicone anti-stick thing that sits on top of it. And you can paint on top of it and clean it off. I think it'll be very useful. But for now, I like the grid because I'd like to align my gel plate. You're going to see my head probably. I'm going to align that at the top. I want this to be in the middle so that I'm almost using it as a registration guide. So there you go. I've got my gel plate there. I can see the grid through it. But when I'm trying to align paper to this, I'm basically starting like this, rubbing it out, and that way I get a reasonably centered drawing, which doesn't matter to me because honestly I ditch these. I cut the edges off of them. I never use them as art, although some of them honestly could be art, but I always cut the edges off. So, all right. So hold on, BRB. Okay, I have this set up for how I would normally work. I'm going to show you guys simply with black and white because it's easy. See how that's off camera? That's pretty cool. I usually roll off my brayer onto a book. This is a Dollar Tree book. And there is my plate. I've got some copy paper, which is the least expensive. I don't get precious about it because it's copy paper. And we're going to play with a little bit of botanical stuff. So let me get some color on this plate. And I think things are probably pretty quiet up there with my camera, but they won't stay that way. So let's see what happens. We'll get this kind of grayish. You'll have to keep an eye on the shake for me because I'm kind of busy over here, but you'll see. So one of the things that I've tried doing is leaning against my table. It doesn't make a difference. It doesn't matter. Let's give it a little bit of texture. Any movement will cause shake, so you just want to know what you're going to be putting in front of people. I do like that piece of glass. It's got a lot of paint on it. It's very squishy. How's my shake doing? Okay, not awesome. Let's pull the rest of this off. This is approximately how hard I move my table when I'm working. I'll keep an eye on shake, you let me know. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to put those little plants on this black thing and see what happens. I almost always use either too much or not enough paint. That's a pretty gray. Okay, these are baby's breath that I bought at, I don't know, like Trader Joe's or whatever. They are the messiest. If you're going to teach somebody something, you need to really work your baby's breath to get rid of all of the flowers before. Rolling it out, because you'll spend the rest of your day. This is nice. I can see what's happening there. It's because it's so much paint. It's very wet. Okay, let's give that a little pull. And honestly, you can't make ugly art. I mean, this is ugly now, but it won't stay ugly. Okay, so that's what it took me. Oh, really, do I want to be honest? It took me 4 days. Of course, I'm a complete newbie. I've been an artist for a long time, but I've never shown anybody myself doing it. I've never tried to record myself. Sitting in front of a camera is a very interesting experience that I honestly never thought I'd have. I'll tell you what it does, though. It gets me out of bed, which is never a problem. It gets me out of bed, and it gets me, I have makeup and a bra on, and it's 9 o'clock in the morning. This is a very unusual thing. Okay, I'm back. So that's the setup. That's how I use it. This is all my off-camera stuff, which is awesome. I said I'd show you my setup off camera to the left of my desk. There's my setup there. This is a 4x8. No, this is a 2x4 piece of 1/4 inch thick Luan, kind of like plywood. And I bought it because I needed a place to stage this stuff when it's drying so that I can literally walk on the floor. My studio is 7 by approximately 10-ish. It's pretty small and it is loaded. One day I'll give you a tour of it. So this off camera makes it possible for me to stage everything, keep my mouse and my keyboard above what's happening underneath it. It's a little rickety, but it makes it possible for me to keep the area that I'm trying to film clean, which is awesome. One of the things that I mentioned was how you could have a setup like this even if you're setting it up in your kitchen. And I know that if you've got a round kitchen table, putting those pieces of tape that I showed you earlier on your kitchen table is a huge pain in the neck. So let me suggest that piece of Luan that I just showed you, you go to Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever you have nearby, and you buy a piece and you have them cut it down to 36 inches long, and it's already 24 inches wide. This will be your template for setting up your contraption. So you'll basically measure the area, set up your camera, make sure that it's in view, put your tape where you want your mat or your plate or whatever to be so that you've got an alignment area. If you're not anal like I am and you don't have to have it gridded, you could use it as your work surface, as just your work surface, and just have the whole area be in view and not have to worry about the alignment. Once you get everything set up, if you have a gadget like mine, take a pencil and draw a line around everything that you've got right on the plywood, so the next time you go to set it up, boom, you've got everything there. Put a mark where your light's going to go. It'll be so much simpler than trying to recreate it every single time. And kitchen countertops are 24 inches deep, which is the same depth as a piece of Luan. So you can do this without a studio. You don't have to have a studio. So that's awesome. I'll put up some pictures, fixed pictures, so you can screenshot the dimensions. I'll put up links at the bottom if you decide you want to reproduce this thing. That is what I've learned about recording art, and I hope it was of some use to you, because it was a very interesting learning experience for me. And that's all I have today. If you would like this video, if you do like this video, like it. If you don't bother. And I don't know how long it's going to be until I get another video up, but if you want to know what I'm up to, you could also subscribe to my brand new channel, Art, Story, Tinfoil. There's a story behind that. Nice to see you. Take care. Bye.